Could Sarah Platt soon find herself caught up in another deadly situation in Coronation Street? The latest chapter of Sarah's prison ordeal promises to be particularly dramatic, as her former friend Kacey reveals a much darker side. With tensions reaching breaking point, Sarah may be pushed into confronting another dangerous enemy, and could potentially be forced to take desperate action once again. Sarah has already been at the center of a major murder storyline after killing Theo Silverton, but she had hoped that Kit Green, despite his questionable methods as a police officer, and her former boyfriend Gary Windass, might be able to help keep her out of prison. Unfortunately, things have not worked out that way, and Sarah is now paying the price for her actions behind bars. Her time in prison has been anything but easy, with Sarah repeatedly finding herself targeted and physically intimidated by some of the more threatening inmates. For a while, however, she appeared to have someone she could trust in Kacey. That sense of security soon disappeared when Sarah realized that Kacey had only befriended her because she knew Kit was a police officer and believed his position could eventually prove useful. Kacey's plan becomes clear when she attempts to persuade Sarah to use Kit's influence to help her son after he gets caught up in an armed robbery. Unfortunately for Kacey, Sarah has just ended her relationship with Kit. Sarah made the heartbreaking decision to walk away from the police officer because she feared their relationship could damage his career and have devastating consequences for his future. When Sarah explains the situation to Kacey, she receives no sympathy or understanding. Instead, Kacey becomes aggressive and threatens Sarah, making it clear that she could face serious harm if she fails to convince Kit to intervene and secure her son's freedom. Desperate to find a way out of the terrifying situation, Sarah turns to Todd Grimshaw for advice. He encourages her to speak to Kit, but when she does, Kit makes it clear that there is nothing he can do. Kacey is furious by the response, leaving Sarah with a chilling realization that she may now be in genuine danger. Next week, Kacey takes her intimidation tactics even further by showing Sarah photographs of Harry Platt spending time at his friend's house. This comes after Sarah discovers that a photograph of Harry has been deliberately damaged, with his face apparently scratched out. Terrified that her son could be targeted, Sarah immediately contacts Adam Barlow and begs him to make sure Harry is safe. Adam, Kit, and Bethany Platt then begin looking into the identity of Harry's friend and his family, while Sarah takes matters into her own hands inside prison. She secretly takes several pool balls from the prison recreation room and places them inside a sock, creating a crude but potentially dangerous weapon as she prepares herself for a possible confrontation with Kacey. Yvonne Atkins would certainly have approved. Meanwhile, outside the prison walls, Kit tells Bethany that he intends to use threats of his own in an attempt to protect Sarah. However, Bernie Winter-Allahan steps in and warns her son that he needs to start thinking about his own safety instead of putting himself in danger for Sarah. With Kit being urged to stay out of the situation, Sarah appears to have little choice but to face Kacey herself. Armed with her homemade weapon, she approaches Kacey's cell, seemingly ready for whatever confrontation awaits her. But could Sarah's latest prison nightmare end in another death? And if Kacey pushes her too far, will Sarah once again be forced to take deadly action? Broken Todd plots a cruel revenge against his close friend in Coronation Street. It was perhaps only a matter of time before Todd Grimshaw showed signs of his darker personality again in Coronation Street. And this time, someone close to him could find themselves caught in the fallout. Anyone who has followed Todd's journey over the years will remember that he has not always been the innocent and caring character he sometimes appears to be. One of his most elaborate schemes came when he became determined to win back his former partner, Billy Mayhew. Rather than accept that their relationship was over, Todd deliberately interfered with Billy's life and went to extraordinary lengths to destroy his romance. His past behavior includes cheating on his pregnant teenage girlfriend, Sarah Platt, nurse Carl, before manipulating her into believing his lies. He also disappeared from Summer Spellman's life by pretending to be dead, and later interfered with his brother Jason's relationship with Eva Price, seemingly determined to prove that he could manipulate those around him. However, Todd's troubled history appeared to have become a thing of the past. That all changed after Todd became trapped in an abusive relationship with Theo Silverton. Over the past year, Todd endured repeated physical and emotional cruelty from Theo, exposing a much more vulnerable side of the character that viewers had rarely seen before. Todd remained with Theo because he desperately hoped his partner would eventually change, but fear also played a major role in preventing him from leaving. Theo's behavior had already resulted in tragedy, including his involvement in Billy's death. Eventually, Theo's violence became so severe that Todd required hospital treatment. The experience finally gave him enough courage to walk away and report Theo's abuse to the police. But Theo refused to accept that Todd had ended their relationship. He broke into Todd's flat and pursued him onto the cobbles during a terrifying nighttime confrontation. The violent scaffolder eventually climbed onto a rooftop while searching for Todd, only to plunge to his death after someone attacked him. For a time, viewers were left wondering which of the many suspects had finally taken matters into their own hands. Todd was among those under suspicion, alongside Summer, George, Shuttleworth, Christina Boyd, Gary Windass, and Danielle Silverton. However, the truth was eventually revealed to be far more shocking. Sarah Platt was the one who confronted Theo on the rooftop. During their explosive showdown, Theo deliberately taunted her about her past relationship with Todd and the devastating loss of their baby. His cruel words pushed Sarah beyond her limit, resulting in Theo meeting his deadly fate. Sarah was subsequently arrested and imprisoned, where she soon encountered a new threat in the form of fellow inmate Kacey. Kacey initially appeared to be a supportive friend, but Sarah soon discovered that she had an ulterior motive. Kacey wants Sarah to use her relationship with police officer Kit Green to help her son escape an armed robbery charge. When Sarah refuses, Kacey makes it clear that there could be dangerous consequences. Meanwhile, Todd's return from Thailand, where he had been visiting his mother Eileen, is set to create even more trouble in Weatherfield. Although he still has unfinished business involving Sarah, Todd soon finds himself clashing with another familiar face, Glenda Shuttleworth. It may seem unlikely that Todd would deliberately turn against Glenda, particularly given that she is the sister of George, who has become one of the closest things Todd has to a father figure. However, Todd's increasingly selfish behavior threatens to interfere with Glenda's hopes of finding happiness. Glenda becomes interested in newcomer Fraser while at the Rovers, and decides to invite him for a drink. Meanwhile, Todd is left alone with Celeste, who reveals a devastating secret. The funeral being arranged is actually for her, because she has been told she has only 6 weeks left to live. After organizing a Dolly Parton-inspired funeral service, Celeste goes to collect Fraser. Glenda is delighted when Fraser gives her his phone number and agrees to meet her for a date the following day. However, Todd's behavior soon begins to cause concern. When he announces that he plans to head to Canal Street, Christina decides that she wants to accompany him. It becomes increasingly obvious that Todd has been drinking heavily since returning from Thailand, and Glenda does not hesitate to confront him about his behavior. Todd reacts angrily to her criticism, leaving their relationship. Coronation Street airs on weeknights at 8:30 p.m. on ITV1 and streams on ITVX.